I still hesitate before telling this story, because every time I remember it, it feels like something is listening. What happened to me was real. I know how that sounds, but I also know what I saw, what I heard, and what followed me afterward. This is not a campfire story. This is not a metaphor. This is the reason I no longer sleep in silence. 3 years ago, my life was already falling apart. My father had died suddenly from a heart attack, leaving behind debts I couldn't afford and an apartment I could no longer pay for. My mother left the country to work overseas, and I was alone for the first time in my life. I was exhausted, emotionally numb, and desperate for something cheap and quiet. That's when I found the advertisement online. It was short and strangely plain. House for rent outside the city. Very cheap, quiet area. Ideal for someone who wants peace. No photos, no details, just a phone number. I called it that same night. The man who answered spoke calmly, without emotion, like he was reading from memory rather than thinking. He didn't ask me many questions. He didn't seem interested in who I was. When I asked why the rent was so low, he paused for a moment and said, "The house doesn't like noise." I laughed, thinking it was a joke. He didn't laugh back. We agreed to meet the next day. The house was about 40 minutes from the city, far enough that the roads became empty and the signal on my phone weakened. It stood near an old, abandoned orchard, its trees twisted and leafless even though it wasn't winter. When I first saw the house, my chest tightened. It looked old, neglected, and tired. The paint was peeling, the windows were foggy, and the roof sagged slightly in the middle. But when I stepped inside, everything changed. The air was cold, clean, and completely still. The floors were spotless. The walls were bare but freshly painted. There was no dust, no smell, no sign that anyone had ever lived there. It felt less like a home and more like a place that had been reset. The owner handed me the keys and said, previous tenants didn't stay long. When I asked why, he smiled faintly and said, they went back to the city. Something about the way he said it made my skin crawl, but I ignored the feeling. I needed the place. I moved in that same day. The first 2 nights were quiet, too quiet. There were no outside sounds, no insects, no wind. It was as if the world stopped at the edge of the property. On the 3rd night, I woke up suddenly with my heart racing. I hadn't had a nightmare. I just woke up, filled with dread. I checked my phone. It was 3:17 a.m. Then I heard footsteps inside the house. Slow, careful footsteps moving down the hallway toward the kitchen. I was frozen in bed, listening, trying to understand how someone could be there when all the doors and windows were locked. I whispered, "Hello?" But there was no answer. When I turned on the light and checked the house, it was empty. I told myself it was stress. Old houses make noise. That explanation didn't comfort me. The footsteps returned the next night, and the next, always at 3:17 a.m. Sometimes they stopped outside my bedroom door. Sometimes I heard whispers, too faint to understand, like someone speaking from behind a wall. Objects began to move. A chair would be facing the wall when I woke up. Cabinet doors were left open. Once I found muddy footprints leading from the front door to my bedroom. They stopped right beside my bed. I stopped sleeping. I stopped calling people. I felt watched, even during the day. The house felt aware of me. One morning, I found a piece of paper on the kitchen table. On it was one word, written in shaky, uneven letters: leave. I knew I hadn't written it. That afternoon, I called the owner and demanded the truth. After a long silence, he said,
They didn't leave on their own. When I asked what he meant, he replied, "The house decides who stays." Then he hung up. That night, I tried to escape. My car wouldn't start. My phone had no signal. The air inside the house felt thick, heavy, like it was pressing against my chest. At exactly 3:17 a.m., the footsteps came back, but this time they were fast and angry. Doors shook, the walls creaked loudly. My bedroom door handle began to turn slowly. The door opened, but nothing entered. The temperature dropped so suddenly that I could see my breath. A voice whispered directly into my ear, saying, "You heard us." The walls began to change. Bloody handprints appeared beneath the wallpaper, pressing outwards as if something was trapped inside the walls, trying to escape. I ran for the front door, but it wouldn't open. In the house mirror, I saw myself standing behind me, but it wasn't me. Its eyes were black and empty. Its mouth was stretched into an unnatural smile. It spoke using my voice and said, "You stayed too long." After that, I remember screaming, and then nothing. I woke up the next morning on the side of the road. A stranger was standing over me asking if I was okay. Behind me, there was no house, no ruins, no sign that it had ever existed. The police said I had suffered a breakdown. Doctors blamed stress and grief. But every night since then, I wake up at exactly 3:17 a.m. I hear 3 slow knocks and a voice, calm and patient, whispering from somewhere close, "Come back." I know one day it will stop asking.